Welcome to PacketCircle. In this short clip, I want to show you what's new in version 0.5. A few usability improvements to the circle view you already know, and then the big one, an experimental new visualization mode called Graph Mode. Let's jump right in. I've launched Wireshark and loaded a trace file with various protocols, and one of my favorite hacks from my lab to demonstrate the different features. As usual, I'm loading PacketCircle from the Tools menu in Wireshark. This is the normal circle view, the way you probably know PacketCircle already. I did implement a few usability changes and graphic fixes in version 0.5. First, the arrows in the pair list on the right side. They should be much more readable now and consistent across all platforms, macOS, Windows, and Linux. Additionally, you might notice that some connection lines are dotted. That's a new visual indicator for unidirectional communication. Only one side is sending. A solid line still means both sides are talking. The action bar, the second row where you apply filters, clear and reload, has been cleaned up as well. The select functions are now available right where you need them, in the right-click context menu. For example, let's search for 131.151, one connection is found. Right-click, select Search Results, or Invert if you want to exclude it, and from there you can take it further for filtering. Let's clear the search and switch to the new graph mode. By the way, you need to make your choice during installation whether graph mode is enabled or not. Just in case the new functionality creates any problems, the graph button will not be visible and the graph mode functions will not be loaded in the default installation. The reason is simple. The mode is still experimental, and I need more QA and real-world feedback before making it the default. Graph mode is much more customizable in terms of layout and what data is being displayed. That adds a lot of opportunity to visualize and analyze the communication in different ways. There's a separate documentation page for it, but the built-in help also explains how the nodes are represented in each layout and the purpose they serve. The graph is completely dynamic. Hold the spacebar and you can pan around the map. Hold the Control key or the Windows key depending on your platform, and the cursor turns into a hand, letting you grab and move individual nodes. Use the scroll wheel on your mouse to zoom in and out. You can choose the data being displayed on the edges, the lines, and the data associated with the nodes independently. Let me start with the star layout. The busiest node sits at the center. All others radiate outward on concentric rings. I'll set edge color to protocol and node color to service. Remember, protocol in PacketCircle refers to the protocol group you see in the lower right legend, TCP, UDP, infrastructure, and so on. In the center, you'll see a node, likely a server, communicating with many clients around it. Let me quickly browse through a couple of other layouts. Grid, a deterministic grid, where the highest traffic nodes sit in the top left. Clean and simple. Concentric rings sorted by connection degree. The most connected hosts land in the center ring. The last layout I want to mention is cluster. I personally use this one when grouping IPs, like separating internet addresses from private subnets. Let me change the node data to role, which is a basic internal versus external grouping. Just as a remark, you can tell PacketCircle which subnet ranges you're using in your own network, so the grouping matches your environment. For Wi-Fi monitoring traces, the cluster layout is a perfect use case. It gives you 802.11 role-based grouping, access points, data stations, management-only devices, and broadcast or multicast addresses, each in their own cluster. That's a really nice way to visualize a wireless environment. You want to go deeper? Here we go. I'm going to switch to protocol and service data and hover over a line. Once I click the line, I see the standard breakdown of communicating services. And you'll notice a green score button. That gives you information about health metrics for that connection. For an intro, it would be too much to go into all the details we have in graph mode. Best to take your own data and figure it out. But in regards to the health metrics, I've built a settings function that allows you to adapt the thresholds to your needs. Let me go as an example to the graph thresholds, and you see the settings are grouped. So you can create one set of thresholds for your WAN link and another one for the corporate high-speed network. Now, let me show you my standard security incident workflow. This is an analysis of a breach, obviously simulated using Metasploit, exploiting a ProFTP site copy vulnerability. Since this is a compiled PCAP with various subnets and applications, I'll first identify the hosts from my lab, which are in the 172.28 network. So I search for that in the search field. Only a few connections remaining, but I'm still not sure which one is relevant. As mentioned before, I can use application-level protocol filtering by clicking on the legend. So I filter on the FTP connection. Looks like I got it. If I click on the connection line, I can see the whole attack chain. FTP to leverage site copy to create a PHP script. HTTP to access that PHP script, which will create the backchannel shell on port 4444. Want to see how that works? Let me dig into the FTP connection. You see the site copy command, copy a file to the temp directory, and from there to the web server root. So let's look at the HTTP connection. We see all the headers, but also the content of the stream, an HTTP GET which calls the PHP file. And if you look closer, the IP address of the attacker and the TCP port being used for the backchannel is included too. It's 444. Next step would be to check what the backchannel is doing. Since this isn't really a protocol but just a netcat reverse shell, I'm going to ask Wireshark to reassemble the payload by selecting Reassemble TCP Stream. If I look at the bottom of that stream, I can see what the attacker did. In this case, just issued an ls command through the backchannel and discovered, for example, that a PHP myadmin instance is running on this host. That's a quick look at PacketCircle version 0.5. Cleaner arrows, dotted lines for unidirectional flows, a streamlined right-click workflow, and a new experimental graph mode with multiple layouts, flexible data mapping, health scoring, and configurable thresholds. There's a lot to explore, and the best way is to load your own captures and try it out. A big thank you to the Wireshark development team for the outstanding plugin framework that makes all of this possible, and to the community for testing, feedback, and sharing their captures. That kind of input is exactly what shapes the next version. Download link is in the description. And remember, packets don't lie.